Hey there, everybody. So this is the first video of Music Industry Insights, where I go to Bunker Sound recording studio in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And it is really awesome. I got a lot out of it, and I think you will too. What I think you'll get out of it is how this recording studio is applying a new type of business model, or they're exploring a new type of business model instead of just following the tradition. They're applying elements of record label, of management, publishing, etc., to offer a more complete package to an artist rather than just hitting the record button and then giving them files back. Not to simplify what a recording studio does, but they're doing a lot more than just that. And please stay tuned throughout the whole interview. It is a little lengthy, but toward the end, you'll get some real nuggets of experience and knowledge that Bunker Sound has to offer that I hope you can apply in your studio or your business, whatever music endeavor you're in. All right, enjoy. All right, so we're pulling into Bunker Sound. Look at this. What is this place? It's awesome. Look, they even have a swing to relax out there. You see that hanging from the tree? Amazing. So it's a house. Looks like it's a residence. And Bunker Sound, I mean, I'm assuming studio's down in the bunker, down in the basement. All right, guys, let's pull in. Let's meet Steve and John. So with John Wooten and Stephen Raets at Bunker Sound. Awesome. Welcome. Let's get started. So as you guys know, what I want to discover here in this process is just getting to know Bunker Sound, kind of how it got started, and like where the industry is going, just getting your perspective, you know, like really like thinking from your perspective, not necessarily what everybody else is thinking, but just what are you guys thinking, what is Bunker Sound thinking, right? So that's in a nutshell what I'm trying to get at. So tell me guys a little bit more, how did you get started in the industry overall?
Shall I start, or you want to start?
Please go ahead.
Okay, so I took a little bit of a side road into getting to the final, to be a full-time professional member of the industry. I've always been a very fanatic music lover since I was very young and played in bands and stuff. But then, you know, I went to college and somehow I was very good with numbers, and I ended up working for investment banks, and that is what I've done for 18 years of my life. And then I kind of got tired of that and decided to stay home and do something else. And then after some real, you know, thinking what could be the next step in my life, I decided that it had to be something to do with music. And so about 4 years ago, I started thinking about setting up Bunker Sound, and you know, how to go about it, and what type of studio do you want to be, and all of that. And then so we started building the studio. It took about a year to get it all done.
This was back in 2013?
Yeah, okay. Back in 2013. And then we started, you know, I tested everything out for a good couple of months before actually accepting any clients. And then, yeah, we started just getting one client at a time and doing better and getting more clients in, and now we're here where we're now.
So was it pretty, I mean, did you open the studio and just kind of like hoping you get clients, or did you already have, you know, you had an idea that you would get clients?
Yeah, it's a very vibrant music scene around here. Yeah. But having said that, it's also, you know, you got to earn the trust of people.
Of course.
And people are quite skeptical around here, don't you think so? Like clients are, they are, you know, everyone has their own home recording studio these days, and so why would they go and record with someone, you know, I can do it at home kind of mentality.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah, so we did get some, I lowered the price substantially in order to attract people, so they could at least come in and just have a look. And I just wanted people to come in because usually what happens is once they come in, they go like, "Wow! I mean, is this in a basement somewhere?"
Right.
You know.
That was my impression.
Yeah. I mean, number one, the house is quite impressive, and the landscaping around it and whatever. But then you walk into a basement, and you're thinking, "Oh, this guy has like a studio in his basement kind of thing." And then people come in and they say like, "Oh, whoa, this is for real," you know. And so then they know that we're very serious about it, and that we're really passionate about it. And so what helped us in the beginning is offer like crazy cheap packages, like weekend packages for $250 or something.
Yeah, sweet.
And get people over the floor, and then one thing leads to another, and it's all word of mouth. So you know, we have an incredible focus on whatever leaves the studio has to sound as good as we can get it.
Yeah.
And clients kind of feel that, I think, and that brings more clients in. You know, each band talks to their friends, and that gives us more business, and so we just keep it growing organically, slowly but organically. And now we're at a point where, you know, we have a fantastic setup, as you can see, and
it's amazing.
we can walk through it later. And,
yeah, that'd be great.
But yeah, we can now compete with all the big studios, or you know, we do mastering as well here, and so yeah, it's pretty cool setup.
And you do the mastering in this same control room?
Yeah, right here.
Okay, great. And then John, so when did you come into the picture at Bunker Sound? Maybe you can scoot in a little bit.
Yeah, I met Steven in September of 2015.
Yeah.
I was working for Hemispheres Recording, and he moved to Nashville.
Yeah.
And I had to pack the studio up, move it up out there, set it up, and all that.
Yeah.
That was fun, actually. And the owner at the time was selling some of his stuff off, and Steven was buying some of it, and he took that opportunity to introduce us. And Steven and I hit it off pretty good, and now I'm here all the time.
Awesome. That was at Omnisphere.
Hemispheres.
Hemisphere.
Okay.
Hemispheres Recording.
It was producer James Lugo.
Okay.
He was a former American Idol vocal coach and
He
music
did a lot of
producer,
stuff in LA.
guitar
Moved from
player.
LA
Yeah.
over here.
Okay, great.
He's a good friend of ours. Actually, in the song I'm going to play later, he's the one who plays the solos.
So, you know, one thing I'd be interested to hear, let's say for you, Steven, your career is very interesting in that, like, just 4 years ago this started, but it, like, you look at this studio and it feels like it's been here forever. What was that shift? You told me briefly, but like what was it in, you know, like mentally you were like, I gotta do this, like, did you feel like, or did people think you were crazy almost? Like, why are you starting a studio at this time?
It was quite opposite. People thought I was crazy going to work for a bank. They always thought I was going to do something with music. I was so into it when I was young, and you know, in everything I did was always music. Like my wife and I, we went with Erasmus. So I had a couple of bands back in Belgium in our high school and college times, and then, to give you an example, we go to Denmark to study for 6 months. There's nothing there. After one day, I already organized that the university gave us their rehearsal rooms, their instruments. I had a band together. You know, 4 months later, we did a gig. You know, it's like we could. That's the kind of thing that I did. I had to have music. Yeah. Always, in everything. I would sing all day. I would just...
So the crazy thing would be staying in the banking.
Yeah.
In the banking.
Yeah, even when I was a banker, I set up a band with my colleagues, and we played in some great London gigs and stuff. So it's always been part of me, a very important part of me. And my wife knows it very well because we were childhood sweethearts. She's always been with me. Yeah. And so when I told her that it was going to be music, I'm going to build a studio, she said, yeah, of course. I mean, she knows. It's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
Did you feel building Bunker Sound, was it more of a passion project or of a business endeavor?
So it started off for me as a passion, but as I started looking more and more and scaling it up and prepping it to be constructed, I quickly realized that in order to build a studio and you want to do it properly, you actually have to spend a lot of money on room design and acoustic design. But once you start spending those numbers for a passion project, it's very difficult to justify.
Of course, especially to your wife.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, the whole thing is still a passion, but you have to look at it more as a business. And because the numbers involved are so,
Yeah,
it's
monstrous.
expensive.
Of
It's
course.
just expensive.
Of course.
Plus, the return you get on it is not that high.
Right.
And we can talk about that, but for me, I look at it as a business.
Yeah.
I've learned from this experience here that there are some limitations, and I cannot grow from here. This is a fantastic studio to work with bands, to do production, to do mixing, all of that kind of stuff. But the moment you want to start competing with big centers like New York, Nashville, you got to be able to offer large rooms, guest houses, so they can come over and stay for a couple of months.
To do like retreat
Yes,
recordings.
yeah, like
Full location.
full
Okay,
location, like the full Monty. It's got to be, you got to be able to offer everything.
Yeah.
And so for us, it's just the next step of a continuation. And there's certain, the studio is also just one aspect of the vision I have going forward for whatever the businesses is that Bunker is involved in. And maybe we can touch a little bit upon Nova and some of the other stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to look at it as a business.
Yeah.
And it's tough because this business is currently not making money.
Right. You mean in
'Cause
general?
Yeah.
Or you mean Bunker Sound?
No, Bunker Sound.
Bunker Sound,
Because
gotcha.
we have invested so much money in such a short period of time
Yeah.
that, the depreciations and so forth from a
Of
business
course,
point of
of
view
course.
are very tough still. But
And because rates seem to not climb up.
no, actually
at
they went
all.
down.
Yeah.
They went down. Rates went down.
Yeah.
Someone published on Facebook, I believe, showed like a receipt of Rolling Stones recording in Muscle Shoals like all those years ago, and it was like $1,000 a day for Muscle Shoals.
Back then.
Muscle Shoals is probably smaller than my rooms here.
Yeah.
And I charge $500 a day.
Sure.
40 years later.
Yeah.
So
What does this mean for our industry? The recording industry, music industry. Like, what do you think is happening?
I have a very strong view about that.
Yeah.
I think the industry is going to explode.
Yeah.
It's becoming huge again, and we're on the verge of happening. I think it's going to happen in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
It's going to triple or quadruple, and because it always goes through, valleys and
ups and
hills
downs.
and stuff, and we've been through a slump, but and physical CDs, people don't buy them anymore. The millennials don't buy them. They don't spend money on it. But what is happening is that paid streaming is increasing dramatically, and it's gonna overtake everything we know. And people are happy to, the more mobile devices you have, the more you're gonna be paying for streaming, whether it's on your phone, on your TV, on your Roku, on whatever it is.
Right.
And 60%, I've done a lot of analysis on that and done a lot of research because I'm just interested in seeing those dynamics. 60% of the increase in streaming is going to go to the recorded business.
Yeah.
There's not going to be enough studios. I really think that because all the big ones have been
To
shutting
keep up
down.
with the demand.
Yeah, I think it's going to be unbelievable. Suddenly people are going to start making money again. Artists are going to become much more powerful. Labels are going to struggle. They're being completely disintermediated.
They're already struggling for sure. Yeah.
They're struggling, but it's even getting worse now.
Yeah.
They no longer, YouTube is becoming the label
Yeah, for sure.
because you have channels where with millions of subscribers. And why would you go to a label? You can just go to one of those people that owns a channel, and they publish a digital release to millions of people. Off you go.
Yeah.
I think that it's changing, and I think the industry is going to start picking up again. And I'm not betting on it. I just know it's going to happen. It's
What's your idea in terms of time range? Like
that this is going to happen right now. It's not going to take
5
long.
years?
It's happening already.
Like
I
10
think
years?
within now and 10 years, the industry is
Yeah.
going to triple.
Mm.
Those are the
Yeah.
the predictions from Goldman and some other investment banks that are looking into the media sector.
See, this is perfect. We have a banker who has some great statistics. It's awesome.
I'm no longer a banker.
I know.
Those days are over.
Sure.
Now I just make music, which is much more fun.
But you have an insight into numbers and the economics. You know, you bring a fresh perspective, a different insight, different perspective. So
Yes,
it's awesome.
People had to go through being able to afford a good life and, you know, being an engineer, owning a studio, you know, have a family, support them, you know, to struggle and you know, having to live paycheck to paycheck. And it's horrible. Yeah. And it made everyone miserable. I'm laughing with it, but I mean, I shouldn't.
Sure.
It's because and it's also taken a very long time. It wasn't a short period or anything. And those people that are stuck in the old days, in a way, it's going to be tough. I think you got to look forward and you got to embrace all this change. Change is not always bad. In fact, most of the time it's good.
Yeah.
Just how you deal with it.
What do you think? So what is Bunker Sound doing to adapt? I mean, you guys have analog gear, analog tapes, you know, recording like. So, having analog gear, one could see it from the outside, like, oh, they're stuck in the old days. It's not all digital, right? Mm-hmm. But so, what does that mean in terms of how can you make that transition? What does it mean for Bunker Sound particularly?
For us, what it means is we, number one, want to make sure that we can provide all kind of sounds through the years of the eras, let's say. So we maintain our tape machines because at some point someone will start saying, oh, we love tape, and then, you know, no one has a tape machine anymore, and then everyone is using digital tape simulators. Yeah. But, you know, they forgot how real tape sounds. Mm-hmm. So we keep and maintain our machines very well, so we can always go to tape.
And if I understand correctly, they can even be a great source just to store masters.
Absolutely.
For long term.
Yes, that's what Steve Albini swears by, for instance. But we have a mix of digital and vintage. We keep up to date with the digital. That's the easy part.
For sure. Yeah.
You just buy your plugins, maintain them.
And it's cheaper. And it's cheaper than maintaining.
It's easy because you have total recall. You know, it's to recall a session. Boom, takes 5 seconds. You just gotta upload it. Yeah. It's a hassle to do it analog, but I'd actually still think it sounds better. And so we love using both whenever we see fit. So it means that when clients come in, we can offer old school, we can offer new. We have kind of the sounds covered. We still have an old plate as well, an 8x4 reverb plate. You know,
how big is it?
The 8x4 feet.
Okay. Yeah.
We have a Dimension D. We have there's like a Cooper Time Cube, only thousands or something, or 1400 have ever been made. There's a lot of old stuff here that I like a lot, but that is the equipment. Also, it's maybe thinking differently about the studio. The studio used to be a vehicle to come in, you record your CD or your physical media, and now you sell your physical media. Right. And that's great, but that no longer works because the physical media is worthless, basically. Yeah. You still sell some, but you know, the sales are declining very steeply and very continuously. So there's not much hope for recovery on that front, unless it's vinyl. But vinyl is such a small proportion of the overall. Right.
I mean, it's the only really physical medium that's increasing, but still at a very slow rate.
That is correct. Yeah. And also, the overall take is very small. Mm-hmm. People say vinyl is exploding. It's exploding relative to a previous year, but it's like a small number.
Yeah.
So.
And in a niche population.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it's also maybe thinking differently in terms of how to use the studio. Like we're very open, and I think a lot about these things. Like, for instance, using the studio to produce music that you own. Why not? You know, people. If you like artists, you think they got talent, sign them, make records, digital distribution. If it works, great, you make some money. If it doesn't, what did you lose? You lose some time in the studio, but you know, it's maybe a different way of thinking about it.
You still have something to show for it.
Yeah, that's true. You can then still say, hey, we've worked with this artist, blah blah blah. Also, Nova Music, for instance, is another.
So yeah, tell me more about that. I was reading. What do you call it again? The Nova Music Lab.
Nova Music
So
Lab.
what is the Nova Music Lab?
So Nova Music Lab is an idea that I came up with in August this year. It's very, very new. And what we try to do is to be an incubator for talent worldwide. No age restrictions or filters or whatever. The only thing we want to do is work with people who are serious about making it in the music industry, whatever making means, like having a career in the music industry. They have to be talented, obviously, and so forth. Commitment. They have to show huge commitment. They already have to be established in a way as well. We look at the social media presence, and then what we try to do is help develop them, like help them grow, become stronger, work with them on the social media presence. So help them with their recordings, with their mixes, with their masters, if needed. Sometimes it's needed, sometimes it's not. And then we use our strength of our partners, and I can explain to you that in a second. We use those experiences and vast knowledge of the industry to place those artists with publishers or record labels or anyone that could lift their career further. So then we would
so you
step
have
out.
those some connections, or you try to find the connections to plug in.
That
with
is
the
correct.
artist.
Well, we have. If I tell you about our partners, you will understand. It all started. A friend of mine. His name is Ray Williams. He discovered Elton John. Managed Elton for I don't even know, 3, 4, 5 years maybe. And the first part of his career, he brought Elton and Bernie to band together, and that's how how they hit it off and became one of the most successful songwriter pairs in history. And then he also discovered, Jeff Lynne from Yellow, was involved with God knows how many other bands. So he's very well established in the music industry. And we talked a lot about how can we actually, because the labels have retracted a lot of their funding, a lot of their
and they're giving that to the artist, that responsibility to the artist.
Yeah.
Like, you guys figure out, you already have to have a fan base, etc.
That's true. Yeah. So they kind of took a step away from the risky portion of the development of the artist. And there's a massive gap currently that can be filled by us, for instance, because I own the studio, so we have a studio at our disposal.
Right.
Ray knows everyone in the music industry. Plus, he has with Crumb's Music, he has a licensing company. So he gets a lot of...
it could be licensed for TV, for movies.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Synchronization, licensing.
Very
so
strategic.
he gets a lot of people that send music and to him. Yeah. So he gets there's a lot of incoming talent. Then I've asked another friend of mine who is one of the main music attorneys in the area here, Scott Bradford, and he's in charge of all our legal and counsel. He gives legal support to our artists, and
amazing.
And then he also has an enormous amount of connections because he makes deals daily with. He represents Panic in the Disco, for instance. Linkin Park, Goo Goo Dolls, all these massive bands.
Right.
And his office is based in New York, but he lives here. So we have him all the time here, and it's great. And he has very, very good understanding of the business and great connections. So he can also help us with placing our artists when they're ready to be placed. And then lastly, our other partner is John Carlson, a friend of mine who is a songwriter himself, but he owns a video production company. So he's in charge of making all the videos, the video content, setting the marketing plans. And so between the four of us, we have a tremendous platform and expertise in the field that we can use to the benefits of our artists. And
so that's part of Nova Music Lab.
Yes.
So in a sense, you have Bunker Sound Studio running, the two of you guys mainly running it, right? And then you have this periphery of this team at your availability to help support artists.
Yeah.
And so is this part of your theory as to how studios are changing? Rather than it being a place where you're just kind of waiting for clients to come, they come and record, and and that's it in a sense. And you hope they come back, but maybe before a studio wasn't so concerned if an artist, you know, really distributed the music and kind of made it up. But you're more concerned in a sense for the artist, it seems.
Yeah.
That you want their music and you're actually offering them these resources.
Well,
and I'm assuming at a cost that they can, you know, that is manageable. I'm not sure what that is like.
Well, they're different revenue streams.
Mm-hmm.
And so a studio, if it's working at 100% capacity with paid customers, then, you know, that's it, you're at capacity. So what we then could do, if the rooms are not booked at the same time, we could use one room to work, and we develop artists and over time build a portfolio of, well, it sounds maybe a bit strange to call it a portfolio, but you build like a roster or a catalog. Of artists and songs that you can then try to place through your connection. So you kind of becoming, you see the lines between being a studio, being a label, being a distributor or a publisher, it's watering down. Ultimately, it will end up all digital, and you will have to go through something. Maybe it's going to be YouTube that wins or whatever. And there will be a vehicle where you place all that music. But I think the industry is definitely moving in that way, and we try to be very open-minded in how we can be part of that in a meaningful way. I think the idea of Nova Music is a good one, because a lot of people have told this to us, and also to Ray, for instance. He was invited when the BMI chairman retired like a couple of months ago. He was in London and on the main dinner, and in Nashville on the farewell dinner, and with Jamiroquai and some other people at the table, and you know, everyone is saying it's a great idea, and so we just need to kind of build further on that. And we signed our first artist. We gave him a songwriter's deal, and he is actually a local artist, a mailman in Wilson, North Carolina, and it's like a really true country artist, and he writes great songs. So we're working with him for the moment, trying to place his music. And we're looking at some other bands that we would like to work together with. So that's one thing. Another thing is streaming. You stream yourself. You can be
as a studio.
You can be a television studio for $25,000.
Oh yeah.
Like full-blown multiplexer, you know, commercials, ads, everything.
Yeah.
And you can stream. So there are a lot of opportunities out there.
Yeah.
And you just got to have the vision to realize some of those, and I'm very much in favor of going that route, and you know, just throw all our weight at it, you know, and see if we can make it that way.
Now, John, like for you as an engineer, does it feel any different working, like being part of this process where you're discovering, in a sense, a new model for a recording studio than maybe previous experiences you've had at maybe more traditional recording studios? I mean, as an engineer, do you have to think differently, or is it still pretty much the same?
No, it's all about getting the best we can out of the artist, and then getting the best we can out of the recording.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, it's a traditionally speak, it's the same mentality that you have to have.
Is.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
You just want to make the best music you can.
Yeah.
I think what we try to do here as well is have almost too much focus on clients in a way. We try to make sure that, because we're a young the business is young. We haven't been around for a very long time. I'm not young by any means, but you know, we started off, and I really strongly feel that we're only as good as the last record we produced. If we make a bad record, everyone's gonna say, "Oh my gosh, these guys at Bunker suck." You know, we no longer go there. Sure. So we try to go way and beyond. Well, even when people pay us, you know, we try to make the budgets work as good as we can. We still have to pay the bills, of course. It's a business.
We recognize we're in the customer service industry.
Exactly.
But we try to make sure that when they leave,
studio,
it's as good as can be, and they're very happy. And
absolutely.
So I want to get back to that statement, but before, because I think that's very important that we're in a customer service business. Before that, I want to rewind a little bit. So are you also then exploring a different type of relationship with the client? Because in this case, it seems like if you're offering these services like legal resources, like syncing potentially, etc., and you mentioned that you're signing a songwriters deal, so it's not necessarily a traditional studio contract for that. It's just hours, and you're expecting the client to pay. Like, how does that work?
They're two separate. They're two separate entities.
Gotcha.
Bunker Sound is a studio, and we're a business. We're a studio business.
Perfect.
But Nova Music is an incubator. Think about it as like a startup, like a startup company, like would help like young startups, an incubator that would do that. So we do that with artists, but they're separate. Even though, if you think about Nova Music Lab, it's 4 people, 4 partners that are equal partners, and we own our stake in it, but each have our own businesses. So Ray has Crumbs, and we can get a lot of talent through Crumbs. I have the studios, so we can record whenever we want to.
Gotcha.
John can make movies, so we can offer. Basically, we can approach our clients, and we can say, if you join Nova Music, we can offer you the full service palette.
Yeah.
And so that is the link between the individual companies.
But
it is not that someone comes in here and I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to give you this deal or whatever. That is a separate discussion.
I understand. That makes it very clear.
Yeah.
So now going back to your statement, John, that we're in the customer service industry. Very often, I feel like in our industry, it's the discourse is dominated by like technical jargon, and like it's like we get so passionate about the gear sometimes, and microphone placement, and that's fine. That should be part of it, right? But
you have to know your craft.
You have to know your craft, exactly. But at the end of the day, like, you're dealing with people. So I don't know, like, what else is in your mind in terms, like, especially as an engineer, like.
Well, there's a technical side of it, but we're creating art.
Exactly.
That's why they're called artists. And we're the technical side of it in many ways, but there's an artistic side as well. So you have to use both sides of your brain for that kind of work.
Yeah.
Sometimes the client side, dealing with the client and the emotions, sometimes more difficult than
can be.
Oh, of course.
Turning the knob.
Sure.
I have to be bartender and psychiatrist and technical wizard.
That's right.
Happens all the time.
Or mom and dad, or brother, sister, like that would play that role.
Or people come in and suddenly they get overwhelmed, or because don't underestimate the studio environment. You're under a ginormous microscope. I mean,
yeah. Red light fever is a real syndrome.
And things that sounded great in your rehearsal room or in your home studio, and then you come in here, it might sound very different.
Sure.
That you weren't expecting.
And you have to guide them, help them through that. How many artists that are coming through here are coming with producers? Or do you have to sometimes play that role?
Yeah, we actually do most of the time, between John and myself. But we also have producers that bring in. But how much would that be in terms of percentage?
I don't know.
It's like maybe 20, 25, less maybe.
Yeah, maybe 50.
Coming in with producers.
Yeah. And then we would still.
One of us will be here to help guide them.
One of us
is
always here to make sure that the equipment. Yes, my phone. Accepted.
Now to wrap up, I would love to hear from both of your perspectives. One is like owner and manager and engineer. What advice would you have to aspiring producers, engineers, studio owners, whether it's a small studio or big studio? So, respectively. So how about we start with John?
Advice. Pay attention to detail on the technical side of things. Often I've gotten a lot of projects from other producers or engineers, and I have to do a lot of cleanup. Just people missing crossfades and just little stuff. But and naming tracks properly, I know that always rings my bell. That on the technical side stuff. On the artist side, just get the best out of your clients as you can. It's always the performance, the room, and then the equipment. And I think a lot of people forget that these days. But performance is first. I'd rather have a good performance on bad equipment than a bad performance on good equipment.
Now, what about an engineer who currently is not working in a studio? Maybe just got out of music school, or not even in music school, but has had experience here and there, like dabbling. And what should they do next, he or she?
I don't have an answer for that. Everybody has their own path, and I'm blessed to have gone down this path and met the people that I've met along the way. So really, just in saying that, networking. Networking is everything in this industry. Because cold calls don't get it. It's someone who knows someone who recommends you, and that's 90% of the jobs and the connections that are made in this industry.
Yeah. Great. Thanks, John. Steven, what about you?
Well, I would say the same thing that I would say to my kids, and I think that would apply to anything you do in life, but especially if you want to make a career in the arts. I think it's be passionate, be enthusiastic, be modest. Don't be an ass when you come in somewhere thinking you know everything. Listen. But listen. People don't have listening skills anymore. They might hear something, but it's not sinking in. Observe, learn, show eagerness, show that you really want to make it, and you see that very quickly. I can have someone come, an intern or anyone that an aspiring, audio engineer or anyone that wants to be part of this life. You can say within 10 seconds,
right,
whether they are cut for it, yes or no. And if you're gonna sit in the seat and kind of start looking around, it's very different. You can just feel those vibes straight away. It's not an easy business because it's very binary. There's this, everyone always complains about, people, for instance, in the time that they were hating the bankers because the bankers were making so much money. But in the music industry, it's even worse. The percentage that actually makes 80% is I don't even know. It's much less than 1%, much less. So it's binary because there's a whole bunch of professionals who are, doing okay, but they're not making a huge killing or anything. And then there's a very, very handful of people that actually does make it. So it's a very tough environment because at the start that it's going to be very competitive, super competitive, if you want to make it. So you got to show some of these skills at the beginning, even if you don't know anything about this. This can all be learned. Attitude cannot be learned. You want it or you don't. And you see that very quickly. And so I would recommend people be keen. Call me, and if I say I don't have anything to do now, call me again. Call me again 3 weeks later, keep calling me. I might get upset, but at least I know it will stick with me because I will say, you know what, that person, maybe I should get him or her over, to come and have a look. And then you see, and then be part of it and ask questions. But do it at times when people are not stressed. I was in an environment where we're mixing and there is a stressful moment. Don't come and ask, why are you doing this? Why? Leave me alone. Write the questions down and come back later at the end of the day. I'll be happy to talk to you. And the music industry is a tough business. It's going to change. I'm 100% certain about it. I really am.
It's always changing.
I really think that at the verge of a very big resurfacing of the music industry, and it's gonna all come because of paid streaming.
Yeah.
And for those people who want to be part of it, go find your local studio, hang out in the local studios, become friends, network, like Johnny is saying. Well, I set up a Facebook group for the area called Audio Engineers and Producers of North Carolina Triangle. And we have maybe 120 members or so.
I don't even know how many.
They all live here.
It's a private group?
It's a private group. I admin it. I'm the administrator. If you want to join us.
Awesome.
But you know, I insisted it's only people here because I get like lots of people from all over the place asking. So you're not. Check it out. You're not in the Triangle.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're not part of our little group.
Well, we try to have get-togethers, so we can
do
communicate face to face.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see that we have a lot of smaller studios and one very big studio in our area, and then we have some medium-sized studios. And even though we're all in theory competing, we don't behave that way. Mm-hmm. We actually help each other. We use this Facebook group more as a resource. Like, for instance, you have a problem that you Google, you can't find a thing. Maybe someone in the group might have had the same problem, so you just post it. Usually people kind of respond to it fairly quickly.
Or if you're missing a little piece of something for I don't know, a tape machine, maybe another neighboring studio could help you out.
Oh yeah, we've had neighboring studios let us borrow monitors when we blew a monitor.
That's great.
Borrow a microphone. We need microphone. Just
or there's many different ways that we can help each other. Yeah. And I'm glad to say that this is really cool. The area here is fantastic. I mean, it's full with talent. It's a breeding ground of talent. Right. What is happening is, and this is another point why we all felt, the partners of Nova Music, for instance, we all felt that we had to do something in order to start connecting all these pieces together. We're good friends with Dave Rose from Deep South as well, who feels the same. I mean, he's doing in Raleigh, he's doing a ton of things, and he's now very well connected in Nashville, and so we have good relationships with him too. So we kind of, there's a lot of things starting to connect, where before, Yap Rock wouldn't know the guys from Merch Records, and they like 20 miles away. You know what I mean? I'm exaggerating. Maybe they do know each other, but there is no music community. There is no.
And you want to help foster.
And we just want to try to facilitate that a little bit more, because I'm very convinced that Raleigh, Durham, I mean, look at what's happening in Durham. It's crazy. Yeah. Like, people flowing in from New York, from everywhere. It's an amazing jazz scene. There's a lot going on also in the rap and hip hop scene. Mm-hmm. And things are just starting to bubble. Because of the fact that the music industry is going to grow. There is absolutely no doubt about it. Right. Everyone is just going to get more and more mobile devices. And the more mobile devices, if you're a parent, you know what it is? I got 3 kids. Mm-hmm. They say, hey, I want to stream. I'm like, I can't stream. Everyone is streaming or whatever. So you buy a streaming account. And they suck you in at first to buy a streaming account. And then afterwards, they make you pay for each device. That's what's going to happen. Yeah. And you're going to have to spend like $60-$70 a month to get streaming on all your devices for the family. Yeah. Something like that will happen.
It's in the works.
And what I mean is then that's a huge multiplier.
Another one is voice too. Now with Alexa and these different devices, I mean, it's still very new. I don't know exactly where it's going. I don't know too much about it, but that could be another platform where you could just be like, hey Alexa, play me some good blues or whatever, and if your music makes it on there, great.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a very good deal for the artists. Artists are going to become much more powerful, but at the same time that's also overwhelming, because there's a lot more, it's no longer where before, you see, all the systems have their positives and negatives. In the past, everyone complained that there were massive filters, and the labels were filtering everyone out.
The gatekeepers.
And you couldn't get in. And so then, people complain, we can't get in. But once you were in, they were throwing money at you. And now there is no gates anymore. Anyone can post anything on the internet. You've got a billion plus viewers if you want to. Mm-hmm. But the question is, how do you then do that as a band or as an artist? And so that poses a whole other problem now. And where before it was about the music, now it's not just about the music. It's about, you know, the image, the brand,
Marketing.
the marketing, the
big
videos
part.
that go with it.
You can make great music, but if it stays in a room,
Yeah,
you know, it's not being of service to the world.
that's
It's not getting
true.
out there.
Yeah. And I think even though it's easier to get it out there in a way, it's still more difficult. It's still difficult.
For sure.
And so therefore I think platforms like Nova can help with that respect. And Bunker is part of that. So in a way we're facilitators. That's how I see it.
Right.
But audio will remain. I think people will continue to record. And people will continue to record at home, and I am not against that. I actually think it's a lot better for us, because people appreciate everyone that comes in here has recorded at home, so at least they kind of know a process, and
They know more of the language.
They know
at
more of the
least.
language. They know more about.
They can compare quality as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They kind of start to speak the same language. It's not like this phantom black book somewhere. I'm
Right.
going in and it's gonna be. So it's like that helps a lot, and a lot of people can save money by doing a lot of editing at home, for instance. Why not?
Right.
I don't mind. You know, when we can work just making music and we don't have to worry about editing.
What an
always
attitude.
It's like-
I think this is the attitude we need.
It is. It is.
In like every studio. Lack of competition, you know, at least a sense of competition, just collaboration.
Well,
This is awesome.
enthusiasm.
And enthusiasm,
about
for sure.
making art.
Yeah,
I mean, I love art.
yeah,
We all love art.
exactly.
We get to make art.
Isn't that beautiful?
It's
Well,
a beautiful
is.
thing.
It's-
I want to thank you guys so much. I want to listen to some of the stuff you got going on here.
Oh, really?
The project, it's
Yeah.
your song. Before we do that, if you can tell us and the listeners, where can we find Bunker Sound? Website? Are you on social media? And also
Yeah.
Nova Music?
Yes.
What platforms can we find that on?
Well, we have websites. It's just bunkersound.com, and the same for novamusiclab.com. We're on Facebook. We're on all the social media platforms, YouTube. Yeah, just become friends. Come and check us out. We love to hang out. We have a bar in the summer where we have a keg of Stella so we can have a beer. It's closed now, but you know.
we love to give studio tours. So
Yeah, we do studio tours all the
if you're
time.
in the area, come see us.
Great.
Yeah. All right, let's hit it.
I should have known that you would leave.
So yeah, we have a acoustic guitar here, and then a clean electric.
Many of the lies you told were true.
Piano coming in.
The only one you've ever loved was you. You never
Here's string arrangement we wrote. This is all just using the LA scoring strings. These are not the Sordino ones, these are just the regular legatos. It sounds pretty good.
face without a trace. The memory that haunts me of your face.
Now the drums come in. These are my sons singing on the background. Enjoy. When we were recording this, I said to the guy, all the people playing here are all friends of mine, and then Andrew did a lot of the extra production work, and he arranged the strings and everything. But towards the end of the song, you know, the guy is getting just more and more angry with that woman that he's thinking about, you know. So he just keeps remembering her.
The character in the song.
Yeah. And so he gets more and more angry. And I said in the end, like the last 16 bars, I said everyone has to solo. So you will see there's like a drum solo, bass solo, everything at the same time. It's quite fun.
Cowbell solo.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I'm here driving home from Bunker Sound in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Beautiful rural area. We just passed some cattle farms and there were sheep and goats. I mean, it's just beautiful out here. I wish you could see more because it's really dark right now. So I have a few reflections now that I'm driving back. And man, it was an awesome experience. I loved meeting Steven and John. Great people, great team. They're doing amazing things. I want to share with you guys my main takeaway. And for me, it was really that they're being creative. They're taking risks with their business model. You know, Steven, I think he just has so much hope for the way the music industry is going overall and how the recording industry is part of it and will grow along with it. I just love that hope. I feel like we're missing that in our discourse. We actually hear a lot of negative talk that studios are going down and so on, and I'm along there with Steven. I'm full of hope as well, and I love to learn new models, new creative ways of exploring how to make that a reality. So yeah, that's my main takeaway, is to be creative, to explore these alternatives, not necessarily stick with a traditional model, use what is positive from traditional studio business models, but then just adapt to a new era that we're in, and try to foresee where it's going and be part of the change that we're seeing and that we're going to see. So I would love to hear what your main takeaway is. There's a car here in the middle of the intersection. Nice one. Sorry about that. Don't want to get in an accident. And I want to hear what your main takeaway is. Please comment. Stay tuned for the next episode, and let's keep learning together. I hope you liked this episode of Music Industry Insights. If you really did like it, please subscribe so you can get more content just like it. And I would love to get your feedback on what other themes or topics you want to hear on this channel and what other music professionals I can interview. All right, take care.